Welcome to Chapter 17. Hope you're all ready to get into this. This is another good chapter, a short chapter, about the execution of a visual presentation. It's over on page 279, starts on 279. Just a couple things in this chapter. We really want to look at page 280. It's a couple lines down from the introduction. An individual may know the concepts but lack the competence to actually assemble all the elements into a good presentation. You know what this is saying? That one sentence is saying you've read the book, you've passed the exams, you've passed the course, but can you put a display together? You got all the book learning you need, but do you have what it takes to put a display together? And that's pretty much what the whole text is all about. It all comes down to that one sentence. Yes, you can take all the exams and pass them, but you have the creativity and the ability to put a display together that's going to sell a product. And further down, under selecting the merchandise topic, it says the emphasis for the presentation must be on the merchandise. The background materials and props are merely enhancers. Remember, the display is there to sell a product. You can have all the creativity, all the imagination that you want to, but you've got to sell the product. Remember the last chapter we talked about that a little bit. You've got to turn those shoppers into buyers. At the bottom of 280, we're going to actually go low in the chapter, and then we're going to, our page, and then come back to the top. It talks about in order to make the greatest impact and increase sales, the merchandise chosen should be timely, have positive eye appeal, and make a statement. Obviously, those are givens. But then, just above that, it talks about having your main items and then having accessories around it to promote the main selling item. So, if you have too many accessories, you might actually steal from the main focus. If you don't have enough accessories, you might not get the people looking at the window. Remember, you've got to be able to stop those shoppers in their tracks. That's going to be part of the portfolio, right? You got to be able to, when I look at your portfolio, I better be able to say, wow. If you get a wow out of me, trust me, you'll get a high score. Or you bring me cookout, one of the two. I'm just going to real quickly go over this merchandise loan form over on page 281. Guys, it's not, even if the company you go to work for has a loan form, it's probably not going to look like this. But know that chances are if you go and need an accessory from another department, you will probably have to sign for it on something similar to this. Don't expect it to look exactly like this, but it will look similar to this. Over on page 282, it talks about working with plants. Again, fake plants, you don't have to water, you don't need sunlight and all that. But tell me the truth, if you're walking by a display window, can you tell if the plant is fake or not? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But if you're using real plants, make sure you trim the dead leaves away, you water them, you take care. Remember, you got to have light for that plant. So working with plants can be a little difficult. Window display cases, you have a little checklist on 283, 284. Yes, chances are a window display would have a checklist, and even you, if you're first starting out, I would suggest you have a checklist. But once you've been in the business 10, 12, 15 years, it's all going to be second nature. The checklist will probably disappear. But starting out, I'm going to suggest you have a checklist. The profile down at the bottom of 283, it talks about the Christmas windows at Lord & Taylor and Macy's. Again, can you get a theme here? Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. That is a huge time of year for visual merchandisers. Now we start talking about things we've already talked about throughout the semester. On 284, 285, we start talking about selecting mannequins and forms. Remember, a sitting model might be used to achieve interest and balance. Most visual merchandisers, however, learn early about the pitfalls and limitations of seated forms. If you have a seated mannequin, it takes up more space than a standing mannequin, and if it's a sitting mannequin, it will typically be more difficult to dress than a standing mannequin. So something to consider. But again, there's always a time and a place for a sitting mannequin. We talked about preparing lighting. We talked about that several weeks ago. Actually installing the display is over on 285. 286 again. You'll probably have a You'll probably have a checklist as you start. Over on page 287, bullet number 9 talks about the final check often requires moving a mannequin slightly, adjusting a spotlight, or replacing a sign. Remember to go and clean that dang display to start with. Don't start with a nasty display. And then over on page 288 and 289, admittedly this is probably one of my shortfalls, the sketching. I'm not a very good artist, so my sketching doesn't always come out the way the windows hopefully come out better than my sketching does. But if you're good at that, that's a big plus for you. Alright, that is chapter 17. Hope you go again. Let me tell you, this is a pretty good book. Please read the book. Just because I don't cover it in these reviews doesn't mean it's not going to be on the exam. Doesn't mean that you're not going to need it. Remember, it's application over memorization. Alright?